So good. Amazing, guys. He was at the W.
This is the unfiltered, unapologetic, fiercely analytical home for the smartest basketball conversations online. If you came for lazy box score reading, uneducated casual takes, or corporate PR fluff designed to protect fragile coaching egos, this is your sign to leave now. Today we are breaking down the unbelievable professional debut of Raven Johnson, the dangerous dual point guard chemistry she is already building with Caitlin Clark, the defensive blueprint the Fever are forming, the dominance of Indiana's bench unit, and the roster cuts currently keeping the coaching staff up at night. It all started the moment the referee tossed the ball into the air at Barclays Center. The Indiana Fever walked into a hostile environment against a New York Liberty squad stacked to the ceiling, featuring a towering defensive front line led by Breanna Stewart, Jonquil Jones, and the staggering 6 feet 11 inches international force Hansu. The mainstream media expected Indiana to collapse under the physical pressure and overwhelming size disadvantage. Instead of backing down, the Fever pushed the pace, attacked the paint relentlessly, and stunned the heavily favored Liberty with explosive transition speed. And the driving force behind that high-speed offense was the heavily scrutinized rookie point guard out of South Carolina.
Of course, Caitlin, Sophie Cunningham, but it was nice to be able to see Raven showcasing some of her offensive ability because we all know she's good on defense. When she was in for just 9 minutes, I checked the box score and she had already stuffed the stat sheet, including a few blocks. Her comfort level going coast to coast, going in between Hanshu and Meili for the layup.
All eyes shift immediately to the two-way emergence of Raven Johnson. The moment she checked into the game, the WNBA world was watching, waiting to see if the jump from college would be too much to handle. But Raven Johnson never missed a step. In just 9 tightly limited minutes, she filled the stat sheet with impact plays. Yet this was never about raw numbers, it was about elite, veteran-level court awareness against a championship-caliber defense. Watch the tape and see how effortlessly she manipulates defenders, threading a lightning-fast assist to Kelsey Mitchell for a huge three-pointer. She is not playing like a rushed rookie. She is operating with the poise, patience, and precision of a seasoned WNBA veteran. When you draft a player like Raven Johnson, you already know you are getting a defensive menace, someone who attacks passing lanes, battles through screens, and refuses to give opposing guards breathing room. But the real question was always her offensive translation. Could she run a professional half-court set? Could she thrive alongside the unmatched gravitational force of Caitlin Clark?
Started things off right, making the first bucket in the game.
Clark being guarded by Gardner. Puts the floater up and rattles it in.
I really like the aggressive.
Nice floater. I do think that Caitlin's shot was a bit off today. She attempted 5 3-pointers and she did only make 1 of them. Overall, she went 2 for 10. She did have 4 assists.
What we saw last night was a clear and undeniable yes. When a rookie point guard secures a defensive rebound, pushes the ball up with blazing pace, and goes coast to coast straight through the heart of a New York Liberty defense, slipping between the towering presence of Hansu and the collapsing forwards for an uncontested finish. You are watching a player who belongs in this league. Her comfort level was striking. Under national television pressure, she showed she can run an offense at an elite level while allowing Caitlin Clark to operate effectively off the ball. That's where Indiana's most dangerous tactical advantage now appears. All offseason, the plan to stop the Fever looked simple: trap Caitlin Clark the moment she crossed half court, pressure her relentlessly, wear her down physically, and force everyone else into creation under stress. But inserting a composed playmaker like Raven Johnson breaks that entire scheme apart. The second defenses send help at Clark 30 feet from the rim. Johnson is left free to organize the half court, reading rotations and delivering the ball directly into the shooting pockets of Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham. Clark becomes the ultimate gravitational decoy, while Johnson operates as the precision engine dissecting defensive gaps. And while some will label Caitlin Clark's 2 for 10 shooting night and 3-point struggles as an off performance, the deeper reality is that her presence still dictated everything happening around her.
And this season, Sophie definitely has Caitlin's back. showcased right here in this play. She's setting a screen for her, so Caitlin has the space to make a move where she gets it over to Sophie, kind of like a hockey assist who gets it over to Kelsey for the sidestep three. And notice Mo Billings boxing out there under the basket. In addition to being able to pass, to go coast to coast, to block like crazy.
But even when her elite perimeter shot isn't falling, her gravity and aggressive downhill mindset still generate high-level offensive efficiency. Watch how she attacks the paint, finishing with a technical floater over Liberty defenders. She still delivered 4 key assists. She still commanded the full attention of New York's defensive shell. And that constant pressure unlocked the mathematical advantages Indiana built their system on. Kelsey Mitchell stepped onto the Barclays Center floor and proved exactly why she earns her $1.4 million Supermax contract. When the ball hits her hands in the half court, it feels like automatic production. She played 17 minutes, scored 18 efficient points, shot 7 of 12 from the field, and hit 2 of 3 from deep. She was a pure sniper, punishing defenders fully locked onto Caitlin Clark. Then there is Sophie Cunningham, the gritty enforcer, who came out firing from deep, knocking down contested threes and finishing with 13 points on elite 5 of 8 shooting in just 14 minutes. She brought physical toughness, generated steals, and pushed the tempo in transition. But the clearest display of offensive chemistry came on one breathtaking possession in the second half.
And I tell you, she came away with a whopping 20 points, and she was in for 22 minutes. Oddly, she only had 2 rebounds. She also had an assist, and she had a steal, but she did have 2 blocks, including these 2 on Maisha Hines-Allen.
Fever win the tip, swatted again by Hahn.
Well, one of them maybe wasn't necessarily a block, but it made it impossible for Maisha Hines-Allen to get that in. Shockingly, the Indiana Fever blew away New York Liberty in the steals area, with 8 steals to their 3. Overall, the New York...
Look closely at this sequence, because it reflects the geometric blueprint of a high-level offense. Sophie Cunningham sets a physical, hard screen for Caitlin Clark on the perimeter, immediately forcing the Liberty defense into a full rotation and overreaction to Clark's movement. Clark reads it instantly, showing elite processing speed, and snaps a quick pass back to Cunningham. From there, Cunningham makes the extra read, swinging the ball to Kelsey Mitchell for a wide-open step-back 3. It's clean, fast, and structurally unguardable when executed at that pace. At that level of ball movement, most defenses simply cannot rotate in time to contest the final shot. But even with those offensive flashes, there are still real tactical concerns on the interior that head coach Stephanie White has to address before the regular season begins. The rebounding gap stands out immediately. New York controlled the glass 34-27, a margin that matters at the highest level. When you lose defensive rebounds, you're not just giving up possessions, you're handing elite offense extra opportunities while also restricting your own transition game, which is supposed to be the foundation of Indiana's identity. The massive, towering problem in the paint was Han Su. Standing at a staggering 6 feet 11 inches, she is an undeniable physical mismatch in the WNBA. In this matchup, she finished with 20 points in just 22 minutes, along with an assist, a steal, and 2 blocks that repeatedly disrupted attempts at the rim, even when the final stat sheet didn't fully capture every altered shot. She was highly efficient around the basket, especially when she sealed deep post position directly under the rim, where the Indiana defense often had no physical answer. She consistently overpowered interior defenders, swatting attempts and completely shifting the rhythm of play inside. Yet despite that interior dominance, Indiana still managed to win the steals battle 8-3. Still, this is where veteran defensive IQ becomes critical. While Michaela Timpson and Aisha Hines-Allen struggled with the size and strength inside, Monique Billings delivered a quiet, disciplined performance in positioning and effort. She used strong awareness to box out effectively, even physically moving Han Su away from the restricted area on key possessions, showing the kind of gritty fundamentals that don't always show up in the box score but absolutely decide possession battles. What truly defines winning basketball isn't always in the box score. Those physical, Unglamorous possessions that rarely draw attention but ultimately form the foundation of championship-level WNBA teams. If Monique Billings can consistently provide that kind of interior resistance against elite post players, she becomes a highly valuable rotational piece for Stephanie White. And then there is the looming reality of roster cuts hanging over this franchise like a shadow. The Indiana Fever have assembled one of the deepest, most athletic training camp groups in the league, and the reality of the salary cap means several players will lose their spots within the next 72 hours. The rookies are effectively playing for their professional futures, and that urgency was visible in the second half. Jessica Timmons, the late-round pick out of Alabama, stood out with a smooth pull-up jumper and composed free-throw shooting, the type of perimeter skill set that would immediately translate for teams like the Washington Mystics. If Indiana moves on from her, she likely won't stay available for long. Then there is the sensitive case of 6'4" sharpshooter Justine Pat. In limited minutes, she went 2 of 3 from deep, finished with 8 points, and reinforced her value as a true floor-spacing threat. Exactly the kind of player teams hesitate to lose for nothing. Deploying a 6'4" sniper on the wing changes everything. Opposing defenses simply cannot rotate fast enough to contest her high release point. If she had been given extended minutes in this game, she could have produced 20 points against the Liberty Reserves. The geometry of the floor shifts entirely with her presence. If Lynn Dunn reviews this tape and still decides to move on due to salary cap constraints, it would represent a major roster management failure. The Indiana Fever have already sent a strong message to the rest of the WNBA. They entered a hostile arena and outplayed a championship contender on its home floor with confidence and control. The bench depth is real and overwhelming. Raven Johnson has emerged as a legitimate two-way transition threat, silencing doubts about her draft selection. Kelsey Mitchell continues to operate as an elite, hyper-efficient scorer. And Caitlin Clark's gravitational impact is already disrupting elite defensive schemes, even when her shooting night is not at its best. At its core, this team is built with one identity in mind: pure, relentless pace. They don't want to slow things down or settle into half-court isolation. They want every possession to become a sprint. The goal is simple but dangerous for opponents: push the tempo, break defensive rotations, and overwhelm teams with non-stop transition pressure. When it's working, shooting around 42% from the field isn't just an efficiency mark. It's the natural result of attacking before defenses can even get set. That's where the separation happens, because most teams can survive a structured half-court possession, but very few can handle 40 minutes of constant movement, early shot creation, and repeated downhill pressure without ever being able to reset. And if Raven Johnson continues to develop this level of professional control and composure, the entire Indiana Fever backcourt starts to look dangerous in a different way. It stops being just about talent and becomes about redundancy, stability, and pressure release. With Caitlin Clark drawing constant attention and defensive schemes built around her gravity, Johnson emerging as a calm, intelligent connector changes everything. She provides a second engine, someone who can initiate, organize, and punish overcommits without hesitation. Over a full season, that kind of balance turns into a nightmare matchup because opponents are no longer trying to stop one creator. They're trying to contain multiple decision-makers who read the game at a high level. A huge appreciation goes out to the loyal members who consistently back this vision, support the grind, and demand this level of uncompromising tactical breakdown. This isn't casual coverage. It's a community built on detail, film-level thinking, and a refusal to settle for surface-level narratives, and that support is exactly why this deep-dive content continues to exist and evolve at this level. If you're here for real analysis after every Indiana Fever game this season, not recycled talking points or lazy summaries, then stay locked in, stay engaged, and make your voice heard in every discussion. Drop your unfiltered predictions in the comments. Has Raven Johnson already earned a permanent rotation role in this system? Should the front office fully commit to players like Justine Pat based on shooting value and upside? And is Caitlin Clark's gravitational impact already forcing elite defenses into structural breakdowns earlier than expected? The evaluation process is no longer theoretical, it's happening live. Every game, every possession. This season isn't about projections, it's about proof. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe for more deep tactical analysis, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown.